Surviving Reality contains explicit content full of snark and sarcasm that may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to Surviving Reality.
I'm Corey.
And I'm Carly, and we are back with another recap of Gypsy Rose's Life After Lockup. This is Season 2, Episode 4.
Who's the daddy? I don't know what voice that ended up being.
I feel like that went very
it was kind
Baby
of a mix.
Billy from Righteous Gemstones. Is that
the toilet baby? That's what it is. She's one of them toilet babies.
Vote red for Ryan, blue for Ken.
Well, I didn't know that he was doing polls. Ryan was just doing TikTok polls of Ryan versus Ken, not seeing who people thought was the baby daddy.
I forgot it wasn't even.
It just was a general one.
He was not fielding the audience to see who they thought the baby's daddy was.
Eventually he got there too, but it just took a while.
I gotta say, it's a little pathetic seeing some of the content that Ryan was creating at this time.
Is that what the show has devolved to? It's just Ryan's journey as a TikTok creator. His access to the creator fund, and that's really what we're documenting now.
Well, here's what actually happened in the episode, for those who are interested. Online haters continue to haunt Gypsy. Gypsy faces another challenging situation as her lawyers inform her that due to Louisiana law, the baby will have Ryan's name on the birth certificate until a court-ordered paternity test is done.
I guess of all of the things to haunt Gypsy in her life, online haters is probably the most reasonable.
Instead of Dee Dee, you mean?
Yeah, there's worse stuff that could be haunting you, I guess, from a paranormal sense.
This is just her life. She's going to have to accept that people are going to harass her.
That was like when we were in the hotel this past weekend and we just saw wet footprints in the stairwell. And it was like, it's either children or it's a ghost. And I don't know which one scares me more.
The ghost. I told you. I'd rather,
It's about the same for me. Of just unknown children, wet children just running through a hotel room, a hotel lobby staircase. I'm not a fan. Up and down the hallways at 10 o'clock at night.
It was a lot. It was a lot for one night. I don't know if they were having a party. Didn't we talk about this? How people are renting hotel rooms so that they can have parties at hotels for their kids?
Yeah, if it was a travel team or something, there was a whole bunch of people.
And then they were all mysteriously gone at the same time the next day.
And then, yeah, gone. Well, I mean, that's kind of the basis of a hotel, though, is it's just, it's a place to stay the night.
I'm leaning into the ghost theory.
Okay, yeah. It very well could be. That's true.
Maybe they were all apparitions. I don't know. We could have been in the hotel alone. I'm pretty sure we were the next day.
I'm in a room, sitting here talking by myself. I think that's what it is. Yeah, my whole life is an apparition of my mind.
Okay, but isn't that like what Gypsy's doing at the beginning of this episode? Because she's still in the kitchen washing dishes. Ken called her in the last episode and was like, I will be there in, does it take him like an hour and a half?
Yeah, an hour, 60 to 90 minutes.
From where he lives to getting down to Cutoff.
Meanwhile, back in Cutoff.
I know you've been wanting to add that in there.
I forgot. Yeah, it's my swamp people.
We had a lot of overhead alligator shots.
Yeah, there was definitely some.
They got the drones out to get us some alligator footage.
I think they purchased some B-roll. I don't think that this team went out and was like, you know what we need to do today? We got to get the gator B-roll.
You don't?
I definitely would say that the team that's making this show is not shooting alligator B-roll.
What is your commitment to cinematography then?
You pay for stock images. It happens. It's going to happen. Saves you time and production. It's definitely worth it.
Ken just walks in. Does he have a key? Is the door unlocked to Kristy and Rod's house when there's someone just circling around outside?
The alarm was set, but I was expecting Ken to make more of his presence known before entering the premises. Given that we were on high alert, he was going to catch a nunchuck between the legs here when he comes in. A ninja star to the throat.
Gypsy is not allowed to own a weapon. Although, I don't know, are we going by Amber Portwood rules? Because then she can have a machete.
Yeah, are melee weapons, I guess, what is the distinction then of a weapon? Is it the lethality of it.
I think she's just not allowed to own a pew-pew.
Yeah, I think it's very specific to firearms. But yeah, nunchucks, that's non-lethal. I mean, it could be lethal depending on how you use them, but for the most part, they're pretty non-lethal.
I'm pretty sure Gypsy has thought out all of the objects that could have been made into lethal objects at some point in her life.
If anybody's done that inventory of looking at a bunch of non-lethal things in a room and deciding what could be used based on its lethality.
I'm pretty sure it's her.
She's run those numbers, yeah.
But she's still doing these dishes.
She just has a bunch of Tide Pods in her pocket for self-defense. If the intruder gets close enough.
What are the Tide Pods going to do?
Yeah, you shove one in their mouth and then make them bite down on it, and then it'll poison them. That's what'll happen.
In what? 2 to 6 hours?
Well, I mean, yeah, there's a business turnaround time on that, probably.
To wait for a little while.
A business day or so. Hopefully Ken's able to get there, and he can bring the bow staff and the katana, and he'll be able to fend them off in the meantime.
There's no way I would still be standing at the kitchen sink doing the dishes. If I was worried, I think I'd be posted up by the front door. I'd be peeking around the curtains.
It's the windows. I'd be worried about the windows.
You stay away from them like it's a thunderstorm?
Yeah, maybe like that. Or it's all one level house too, so the windows are an entry point now too. You got to consider that. So any of the doors that are hooked up to the security system, maybe the windows are too, but yeah, you got to keep an eye on your weak spots, your entry points to the house.
Do you remember the episode of Teen Mom where Caitlin and Ty, they realized that one of her bedroom window was open, and then they go check all the other rooms, and the bedroom window in her brother's room was open too? Like someone had attempted to... No, that wasn't the story. Hold on.
Oh, plot twist.
Her window wasn't open. It wasn't ajar. But it was obvious that someone had tried to like file their way in. They were trying to damage the window frame of her room. So
they were jamming at it like a crowbar,
yeah, they were trying to pry the window open. So she brings this to her mom's attention. And then they go casually check the other rooms. And her little brother's room, the window is wide open. And no one has noticed it all day. So then they have to call the police because they're pretty sure someone has been in their house but didn't steal anything, because I don't think there was anything of value to take.
That was going to be my next question, was at what point in the timeline is this? Is that around 16 and pregnant?
It's not 16.
Early teen mom?
Early teen mom.
Okay, so yeah, before the checks cleared.
When she was still living with April.
And that was when, April wasn't living her best life at that point. Well, that explains a lot, I guess.
Yeah, let's remember when everybody questions whether it was the right decision for Kate and Ty to place Carly for adoption, that she would have been living in the house where the windows have just been broken into for hours, possibly days, and nobody has noticed.
Getting marved with the crowbar on the outside there.
I'm not sure how we got there, but...
Well, we're back at another Home Alone reference, too. That's 2 weeks in a row. We got a pretty good streak going here.
I guess I'd be checking all the entry points. That's where I'm going with this.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Doing the checks. Developing OCD.
But instead, it's non-confrontational. There's nothing that comes of this. It's just they're able to... Luckily, Gypsy didn't cash in on her Ken days, trademark Ken days, because she's on parole. So she has to be home for a certain number of days in the week. And so now she's able to go to Ken's house.
The Mojo Dojo Casa house. She's allowed to go for like 2 days a week.
I want to push you around.
What if she hadn't used, or what if she had used those days?
Yeah, and then she couldn't go. Out of luck. Yeah, you're screwed. Then I guess Ken would have to come there and then hunker down with her, and then they both become victims to whatever would happen in this scenario of the TikTok live creator who is stalking and harassing them.
That's what it is. They didn't really call it stalking in the episode, but that's the name I'm going to give it. I don't know if that's legally correct.
I'll allow it. But I mean, because the main part for me is definitely harassment or harassment, if you want to go that route. Some people say it like that.
Harassment?
Harassment.
Harassment?
Yeah.
Harassment.
Yep.
Nope, that's wrong, guys. Harassment.
Right. There's an ass in there.
It's really not fair that they're making Gypsy feel like her home is not a safe place, because everyone should feel comfortable in their home. Like when they go to sleep at night and they lock the front door, and their child is tucked away in their own room. They should feel safe and comfortable, like they will not become a victim of a crime.
You guys remember when we said we're not a Gypsy hate podcast? Specifically, we're not dedicated to ragging on Gypsy in particular, but we will call out these moments when there is a double standard about. There's a couple of them in this episode. So this is the first one where Gypsy is preaching on the topic of the home needs to be a safe space. You're making me feel unsafe in my own home. That's the crime here. There's a couple of other crimes that come to mind.
Do you want to just keep going with what happens with this? Because they broke it up throughout the episode. So she safely leaves Cutoff. She goes to Ken's house. Later on, she returns to Cutoff and Kristy's home. Rod's nowhere in sight yet again.
Still missing. I think he's waiting for us to do a crossover with Amy. I think that's what's going on.
You think he's going to appear next week?
Yeah, I think Little Miss Recap and the Surviving Reality crossover, that's when Rod is saving his appearance for his premiere, season premiere for Rod.
Like, did he get off the boat and had to get right back on it?
Something happened. Dude just doesn't want to be on camera anymore.
He doesn't want to be associated with Gypsy.
Or
Kristy.
He's trying to distance, I think, more so from Kristy.
He's like, man, they make really bad decisions.
You guys are out here just clowning from season 1. I don't know if I want to get all wrapped up in that.
I can't be associated with it. I've hit my limit. So Kristy calls the police. Something we talked about after we stopped recording last week was it makes sense that Gypsy didn't call the cops herself because she's on parole. This is a phenomenon that's common with people who are on parole. You're not going to call the police because you're afraid that potentially you might get in trouble for something and violate your parole and go back to prison.
Always a good reminder, never talk to cops. That's just a general thing. I think that can be stated as a blanket statement for most things. I'm used to most people who are on reality TV when they are on parole or if they have warrants out and then they go to court or something happens, some interaction, and then, yeah, you get busted because they were looking for you and now you've gone to them and you kind of did their job for them in a lot of ways.
Yeah, you could tell that Gypsy's been through the court system because she says pretty much nothing. The cops show up, she lets Kristy do all the talking.
Kristy explains it and Gypsy just corroborates. Yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
Okay. I loved watching how Kristy handled the entire interaction with the police because they just kept saying things like, okay, do you have the video? Mm-hmm. I can show it to you.
Can you email that to me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I certainly can.
Absolutely.
Like, she was very pleased that it was going her way.
I'm glad that, it didn't turn into an episode Cops. And then also...
she was ready to throw hands. Kristy was... If she had been here when that TikToker was rounding the block, it sounds like...
This TikToker's on borrowed time.
It would have gone a little differently.
It could have been an episode of Cops very easily. But also, I'm glad that it didn't go the route of like a congressional hearing when they're like, TikTok? What is...
Does the TikTok connect to the Wi-Fi system?
Do you have the TikTok on the Wi-Fi?
They did seem to understand what a TikTok live was. Do you think this is like the bulk of what police respond to now?
Part of their 2 weeks of training? Yeah, probably.
People being harassed on TikTok via lives.
It's a lot of cyberbullying now. It's out of control. It's running rampant, specifically in Cutoff.
I didn't realize that this person lived nearby. Because the video that Kristy played, you hear her say that she lives 15 minutes away. She was just getting in her car and casually strolling over. I don't know why. My assumption was this was like that astronaut who wore that diaper to drive across the country. Do you remember that murder?
Yeah, I remember.
I don't know why I just assumed that that was the level of stalker we had reached. I didn't think it was someone in the local vicinity.
It's locals only. Yeah, you got to respect the locals.
Is that how she knew how to navigate the back bayou?
Yeah, she took the airboat over and she's just been doing laps pretty much. That's what's going on.
Checking some lines and then swinging back by Rod's house.
Dunking her chicken in a savory baste of some sort to sweeten the deal. That wasn't a euphemism for anything. I'm sorry. I'm just on my swamp people kick. I'm still on it.
The police do decide that it is not okay to harass a convicted felon. So they're planning to pay this person a visit whenever they find out who she is.
They're in the process of discovering who this person is. I guess that information could not be divulged from their username. They didn't share that out. They respected their privacy for that. But we're definitely going to go over and have a stern conversation. Once we figure out who this person is, there's going to be a conversation that will be had at some point in the future. You can count on that.
Do you want to talk about them going to the police station?
They're opening a report. They're going to document this.
They must have gotten pretty serious. They have to go give their written statement.
Well, and again, this is not Gypsy providing a written statement. This is Kristy providing a written statement.
Who wasn't home.
Yeah, she wasn't there. So she's the one accounting for this, documenting this.
I guess it's her home.
I get the feeling.
And she's the one who's filing the complaint.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that she's the homeowner and someone's driving around her house.
And I think it is that Gypsy doesn't really want to be involved in the process.
Oh, no. She doesn't want her name on anything.
That's the big thing. Yeah. Don't attach me to this. Just, you can include me in the report for documentation.
Like to just slide into June.
I'm just trying to get out of here. Keep my head low. Yeah. I don't want to get wrapped up in the system again.
Except for the fact that she is all over social media. She's doing nothing to help her cause. We're not lying low at all on TikTok.
But she's not adding, like, the police department.
Okay, I thought you were going to say she's not adding fuel to the fire, which she most definitely is.
Oh, no, I mean, like, atting. Like, she's not directly, TikTok living and tagging local law enforcement or anything like that. So I guess that is keeping a low profile.
Everyone else is. That's the problem.
That's the problem.
They're all in her comments. They're like, what government agency can I send this to? I'm going to send this to the parole board. I'm going to send this to the prison that Nick is currently at. I'm going to send this to CPS. I'm going to, what other entity can I possibly get her in trouble by sending this to? How have they not had her account banned? Has that happened? Where people just mass report an account? I'm not trying to give you guys ideas.
There were talks of the calls for petition, which that's always great to see. A petition to remove someone's account from social media. Can you do that? Is that a thing?
They're going to send it to the TikTok CEO. Do you remember when everyone thought that random guy with the hat was the Red Note CEO?
Uh-oh. I don't know. He just seemed young and hip and cool.
Yeah, I do think they're a little busy with some other things over at TikTok headquarters right now.
Yeah, they're working on a couple of things. They got their own problems to address right now. They're not really concerned about the legitimacy of Gypsy Rose's TikTok account status.
This was a baby-heavy episode aside from the rest of this. Your eyes got really big.
Yeah, better than a baby-hungry episode, I suppose. That would be a Robin Brown.
No, we've already consumed the baby. We have one.
Well, and Gypsy's not eating, allegedly. That's the new rumor. And she's very upset that Ken's bringing it up because that's only reinforcing that same rumor.
I have to say, I wasn't so sure if Gypsy was really picking her words carefully while she was on camera, but this affirmed that that is happening.
Well, she got very upset that Ken would even say something kind of slightly in passing, because I think she was talking about something with diabetes, pre-diabetic.
She has to go get, she has to go get her gestational diabetes test. When you're pregnant, you can develop diabetes while you're pregnant. That lasts your pregnancy.
Well, if the baby is telling me to eat a bunch of food, I'm going to eat the food.
Okay, I'm pretty sure her point was that is not necessarily how you develop gestational diabetes.
Exactly.
But Ken went the same direction that you did.
That was what that was where Ken's head was at.
So he was trying to say, well, you don't eat a lot of stuff that you shouldn't be eating, so I think you'll be fine.
His point was you're not overeating to the point where you will become type 2 adult onset diabetes. Which again is a whole amalgamation of a lot of different things that don't necessarily apply to this situation. But that's where his head's at. And that was the statement, that was the intention behind his statement, which she then took as, oh no, you are confirming the rumors that have been swirling about on the internet.
No, I think she was concerned that people are going to watch this and they're going to think this is a new rumor. They're going to start something that Gypsy didn't eat while she was pregnant.
Oh no, I thought that was already it, was that she's not eating food.
I think that's because she looked really thin. Remember there was a period of time where people thought that Gypsy wasn't even pregnant anymore?
Yes. She wasn't showing enough for them, so they got upset and said she must be lying because she's a master manipulator and all she knows how to do is lie.
Exactly. And so this baby must not be real.
That tracks.
But also, simultaneously, the father of the baby is not Ken. It must be Ryan.
Schrodinger's baby says that whatever puts Gypsy in the worst light, that's what I'm going to use this baby for in my narrative structure in my head.
I will say, Ken should have checked some law.
Some what?
I'm sorry. I was starting to combine check some laws and before he blew a load.
Check some load laws.
He should have been checking the load laws in Louisiana.
Oh, wow. Louisiana load laws? That's a whole other... They're going to throw the book at you.
He's finding that out now because Gypsy has gotten a phone call and she has found out that when this baby is born, the baby's name will in fact be Anderson. Aurora Anderson.
Oh, double A.
Aurora D.D. Anderson.
Oh, no. Ken's getting desperate. He, at this point, is suggesting maybe you should just have the baby in Texas, which that sounds scarier to me.
He's like, which state with higher maternal death rates should we visit so that you can skirt this law?
You want to go to Missouri? You want to go to Florida? Or you want to go to Texas? Those are your options. It's like the Bermuda Triangle of babies.
I don't think she's allowed to go back to Missouri.
Oh, yeah, probably not.
I think he suggested Mississippi.
Oh, Mississippi. Sorry. Yeah. They lost my records, so I'm all mixed up. Lost them in Katrina. Never the same.
So does that mean that the baby's going to be born with Ryan's last name because that was the marriage the baby was conceived in? But then they're going to have to go change the baby's last name afterwards? So will she have to check off that she has been known by a different name at some point? You know when they ask all of your prior entities?
Yeah, I don't know if
Robin, Alice,
Sullivan, Jessup,
Brown knows.
Yeah, I don't know if that counts in your infancy.
I hope not.
Is that not
her entire life? Not only is her mother the murderer of her grandmother, her mother also gave her the last name of a man that hopefully she'll never meet.
Second degree, allegedly murdered. Allegedly.
But anyway, we're going to move forward with our birth plan, which I guess is to stay local because she has a doula come in to meet with her.
A Doula Oblongata.
Did this woman know who Gypsy was?
This poor woman.
Because
she accepted, she was assigned this at random. She has showed up for her shift. She has no idea what she's walking into.
All she wants to know is, what do you want to do? What's your birth plan? We have some pretty standard questions that we ask. And Gypsy's like, okay, we'll get to those. But first, we need to make sure that nobody breaks into the maternity ward and steals my baby or takes pictures of me mid-birth.
What? This poor lady. I'm sorry, what was that? What was that last part that you just said? Somebody snuck a picture of you at your OBGYN in the waiting room of you and Ken?
Yeah, and that was nasty, guys.
Nasty.
She's looking down at her phone. You know that you have accidentally activated your camera and seen what you look like when you're staring at your phone before. And you did her dirty posting a picture of her looking like that.
Posting it online. No rebuttal can be made.
So now she's worried. Feet in stirrups. There's going to be pictures of it everywhere. The nurses could be compromised. Who knows?
How deep does this go?
It's a real conspiracy.
The only plan that she has, though, right now is I want to have the baby in the hospital where I was born and where my sister was born. The end.
No, and I want an epidural.
Oh, yes. Well, at least we've got the important things checked off the list here.
Did we maybe ask the hospital about their security procedures or maybe if they have any concerns? They have to know something because I'm assuming they're going to film this. At the very least, they must have cleared cameras to come in.
Documentary crew, sometimes it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. You got to be careful.
We're going to have Ken with the bow staff at the front door.
He's got the skills.
So Gypsy thought the worst thing she was going to have to deal with was the baby having Ryan's last name and having to get that fixed. And
I think it would be having Ryan's face. I think that would be the worst thing.
She seems pretty confident that the baby's not Ryan's.
But it's not Ryan's. But what if baby gets Dee Dee's face? That's basically Ryan's face.
That's true.
So that's scary. That's a big concern now.
Do you remember that? I almost forgotten the side-by-side pic of the two of them.
Not even side by side.
It
When they
was
superimposed
uncanny.
or they did a cross-dissolve fade on some of those, it was alarming. That was scary.
I'm telling you, that's why Gypsy got out of this marriage.
I think
She did one of those AI things where you morph the faces together, and she was like, no.
It was like 99.9% match.
It's like Dee Dee and Rod had another baby.
I just hit Carly with the Ryan smile. It's the head tilt, too, because it tilts down and at an angle, and it just makes the smile
Unnatural.
It's off-putting. Yeah.
By the way, check your DMs, Ryan.
He said he reads them all. He doesn't reply to them all. I can attest to that.
For sure.
Yeah, that's for damn sure.
Do you agree that this man knows he is not the father of this baby?
I concur.
You concur. But he is online trying to suck on the teat of relevancy.
Whoa.
Every little bit that he can get out of that thing, he's trying to hold on to the last morsel.
He didn't have the heart to tell anyone in the chat that he was voting blue on TikTok.
Blue for Ken.
In the polls. Yeah, blue for Ken. And red for Ryan.
Elliot, you pointed out that this poll is pretty biased. The methodology needs to be looked at again.
You know, it's not a Gallup poll. I wouldn't put
I don't think those are always right. I think we've learned that.
Yeah, definitely not. But it's skewed heavily towards the Ryan crowd because these are Ryan's followers who are responding to this poll. So something tells me that, yeah, you're going to get a pretty good response for Ryan.
Also, wouldn't it just be more fun if the baby was Ryan's?
Oh, that's better TV.
Like for us, the viewers.
By a long shot, that's better TV.
So yeah, if we had a choice in producing this, that's the way it would go.
I do need to find that Justice for Pixie shirt, though, because I think I have to buy that.
Yeah. Are those available for purchase somewhere?
Still? Yeah, we're going to have to peruse the TikTok shop here.
I'm starting to feel bad for Ken.
Oh, no.
I don't know. I regret saying it. I know I'm going to have to take it back. But man, this man's just trying to make a smoothie and he has to deal with listening to the bullshit of Gypsy and Ryan going back and forth on TikTok.
The dueling lives that are happening now.
It's like two 17-year-olds who have broken up and they've decided that the entire world needs to take a side one way or another.
Yes, that's what's happening. I love how frantic Ken is all the time now. He's just in a state of manic frenzy, and that's what's going on. That's his whole life right now, especially when Gypsy's around.
She's activated his nervous system.
But usually he's just always, he's working on something. He's doing something. He's
trying not to look at his phone.
Pacing into another room. He's picking up, I don't know, coasters or CDs. I don't know what he was working with over there, but that's what he decided to do. He made this whole smoothie and then he just stormed off into another room and started shuffling through a bunch of random stuff. The general assessment, though, the main takeaway here is that Gypsy needs to get her name out of Ryan's mouth because the only reason he keeps doing lives is because he has this whole following now of haters for Gypsy. So that's it. Like, that's what he has established, and that's what he's kind of like ringleading now. So the way that she can disprove this and remove the power of his lives and give him no more content is to prove without a doubt that he is not the father.
But Ken's pretty sure there's like a flaw in that plan because nobody believes Gypsy. Everyone thinks she's a liar. So we're going to go get this test done. We're going to pay for it. We're going to share the results. And there's going to be a good portion of people who still think that Ryan's the father. You know that, right?
At this point, you are allowing the online haters to dictate your life. You are trying to directly address them.
I don't really know that it's about them.
Well,
I really think she's so irritated that Ryan continues to have people support him.
And she's making it abundantly clear it's not about the online haters. It's getting it through to Ryan because Ryan's not getting it. He's still clinging to this fact of maybe I am the father of the baby, and that's my way back in.
I totally disagree with that, though. I don't think that they had sex anytime in the window of conception, anytime near it at all.
Definitely not at the frequency that was happening at Jizzfest. Or Jazz Fest, I mean. But it basically was Jizz Fest.
Man, Jizz Fest went on for 4 days in a row.
Bang, bang.
Yeah. So I saw when Gypsy posted this and I was like, wow, we are really going to lengths to try to ensure that people no longer say Ryan's the father. Should you read it in the Gypsy voice?
Well, I keep thinking of it as the Michael Scott diary entry.
When he was called in front of the HR.
What was it called? No, it was it was the legal thing for Jan's lawsuit.
Yeah, against the company.
Tan everywhere. Jan everywhere. Jazz everywhere. Jizz everywhere.
Left Ryan March 23rd. Had a period April 17th. Made love with Ken and only him. April 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th. Conceived on April 4th and positive test on May 24th. Ken is the father.
Wait, May 4th, right?
May 4th. I'm sorry. What did I say? I'm going to
April
start a
4th.
rumor.
April
Starting
4th.
a rumor.
That's too early.
No, that would mean
be a
that
problem.
Ryan could have been
was
the father.
In the running there.
No, Jizz Fest took place in
End
of April.
April. So beginning of May was conception date.
I didn't need all these details. Did you?
No,
this is
not
like
really.
when we learned the D is fire.
Which is definitely a lie, I would say. The D is fire. Ken's D is fire just from the friction. Just frequency alone. There's got to be some irritation, some rash.
That was a lot. I guess we now know why they're pretty sure who fathered the baby.
I get that Ken's whole thing is there's always going to be rumors because that was like with the diabetes thing and the not eating. Now it's the Ryan's fan in the flames to the paternity issue here. So there's always going to be a rumor that pops up that you're going to have to combat. And no matter what you do to prove those people wrong, they're just going to find something else to hate you for.
Yes.
It's just going to shift gears into something else and they're going to keep going.
Ken was completely right.
100% factual.
And also, Gypsy, you need to take this advice. Nothing would have been more hurtful to Ryan than to have felt completely irrelevant to you at this point in time. You should have just not addressed anything that he posted. And he would have faded into oblivion because people are only interested for so long.
I think that Gypsy's telling like a half truth here, where the main reason that she does want this to happen is so that Ryan understands. It's over. It's done. There is no connection. There is no us anymore. That's not your baby. Moving on with my life. You move on with your life. You're having women twerk against you on TikTok? On Twerk Talk. That's where it is now. And he's smacking ass and he's getting in there publicly, which all of his followers were very upset with Gypsy for attending Jizz Fest with Ken. But then they're happily watching, liking, favoriting, sharing, and commenting on Ryan getting a handful on Twerk Talk.
Yeah, but that's because she did the wrong first.
I get it. But like at the same time, when people are saying, well, she's still his wife and that's disrespectful. Okay, well, he's still her husband. That's disrespectful. So the double standard, it happens on that side too. So I think that's the other piece. But the main thing here for Gypsy is that she wants to send the message directly to Ryan. He needs to understand that this is over. He needs to stop talking about this. I think the part that she's leaving out is that she needs to publicly humiliate him so he stops doing this. I think that's her strategy because she's talking to Ken about how are we going to announce these results? We need to go on a live. We need to broadcast them. We need to put this on blast. We need to make a post.
Why not just send the results to Ryan?
That's a bad idea, though, because if you're talking about doctoring things or you're going to have Ryan read through the results of that and he's going to be like, I looked through it. It says I'm the baby daddy.
I would send it to Ryan and multiple TikTokers who report reality TV information. Send it at the same time. Copy them on the email. Put a watermark on your DNA test. Make it a file he can't open.
It's a PDF. Uneditable PDF.
You can just lock that bitch.
With a read receipt. But you're going to leave Ryan to read the results of this. I don't trust that. Also, I don't think Ryan would be above altering this document.
I don't
in
think
some
he knows
way, shape,
how.
or form. I don't think he knows how, but I think he would try. Or he would just cast just enough doubt.
You think it's like when alter your report card? You ever done that?
Never needed to.
Did for my sister, not for me. You know, you just
A D to a B
cut
is
around
easy.
a few things.
That's why the F, you could make an A, but then that's way too obvious. There's no way.
That's what I did.
F to an A?
No one noticed.
That's a jump. That's a stretch.
Let me tell you how oblivious my mom was. I cut out a square. I cut out the F. I cut out an A from an old report card, and I taped it to the back and then hung it on the refrigerator. Think she was taking that thing off to inspect it? No.
You didn't even... Okay, see, my forgery that took place in 6th grade.
Oh, no.
6th? No, it might have been 7th or 8th grade. I think there was a field trip where there was something that was due, a parental slip that was due, allowing me to leave the state on a field trip. And it was due that day. Otherwise, I wasn't going to be able to go. And I couldn't get a hold of my dad, but I had his signature on another piece of paper from something else that I had turned in or something. So I went to the photocopier and I told them I had faxed it because he was at work. So if you cut out that signature, you make a copy of that, you put it on the signature block. I've done that trick
before too.
And then you photocopy the taped signature block. Now you have just a flat piece of paper. That's forgery 101 right there.
See, who are we to throw stones at Gypsy?
For what? Well, I didn't murder anyone or attempt to or allege to, or at least I didn't get caught. No.
Don't start a rumor.
No.
They're going to say that's why they don't
Second
reveal
degree.
their identities to us.
Right, yeah. I'm still on parole, guys.
The whole thing is a stupid idea because now not only does she want to go on a live to read the results where Ken's like, okay, there are going to be people coming into the comments and probably harassing us and saying nasty things like they do on a regular day. She wants to have a preamble to it. She wants to announce that she's going to go get a DNA test done. Give them a couple of days to spread more rumors and lies across the internet. The rumors, the nastiness.
Speculation.
As Meredith Marks would say.
Yes.
And then they'll announce it. And that should go smoothly.
I think they'll get it all out of their system. They won't need anything to come in on that live. But I think Ken is still saying, well, make it a post. If you're going to announce it publicly, just do it as a post. So that way it's a done deal.
Maybe turn the comments off too. Just a thought.
That would have been a better idea. Because what's to stop this from spinning out of control? It's the same thing that we experienced this in real time when Kristy had called the cops to make the police report for the stalker who was coming by the house. At the time, though, people were reporting on it that Gypsy and Kristy are at odds and that they're fighting and that the police had to be called. And it turned into this whole other drama storyline on TikTok that was completely false and not accurate at all. It was all drummed up.
Well, and that's just like we now know that the baby is Ken's. Spoiler alert.
So here, what are the haters going to say now, though?
Well, now she won't post a picture of the baby's face.
Well,
We've just seen the back of the baby's head.
And to explain this away, what are the haters going to say now?
About the baby or the police?
About the police thing. That they just had to film this as a storyline so then they can excuse that away. $20
it's a conspiracy.
$20 says that's what the example or the excuse is going to be.
Story.
Yeah, that's the cover now, is that they had to film these scenes because
the police department just decided to show up that day to film a scene with them about something that didn't actually happen.
That must have been it. That makes sense. Those are guys from Central Casting. Those aren't even actual police uniforms. They're not sheriff's deputies.
Oh, and the baby, you can clearly tell from the back of her head that that's Ryan's baby.
That's usually how people determine the DNA tests. They go by the back of the head. They take a photo.
And they compare the size of the cranium.
Right. Yeah. The structural.
There's some precise measurements.
Yeah. Structural integrity of the cranium. How much room you got back there.
They're also saying that the baby's like too big in size. So Gypsy was too small while pregnant. And now the baby is too big to be the age that it is.
They already recast this baby?
According to TikTok. No, they're trying to say like the baby wasn't actually born when we were told the baby was born. That the baby was born earlier than that because it is Ryan's baby.
Proves that it's Ryan's baby. Also, just on sheer size alone, it's Ryan's baby.
Man, people are really committed to that storyline.
Kid's built like a linebacker, It's got to be Ryan's baby. Ken doesn't have the bone density.
Look, she's wearing a Saints jersey. That's Ryan's baby. And a WrestleMania belt.
Case closed. No disputes.
What did they do? They're trying to take a break from social media. Ken's thinking maybe that would help some things because all Gypsy does is scroll on her phone all day and read what people are saying about her.
Well, Ken seems to think that the main thing that they fight about in their relationship is social media, but I think it's probably just an example of how their communication doesn't work out. Because I think we see that in the preview for the next episode, is where Gypsy just kind of does stuff with social media.
Oh, she doesn't really check to make sure that they're on board with how they're going to approach something. And yet he has to deal with the ramification of it too.
Right. So then that's where it's kind of like, okay, well, I think it's just that we're not approaching stuff as like a unified front. Like maybe that's the root of it. Because these are the surface level things, or this is where you're seeing examples of the issue. But what's the actual issue? What's the subtext here of the basis there? Communication, consideration. It's a couple different things probably.
Well, it's just so nice when we can bond and get back together and talk about all the traumas of your childhood. So that's what they do. They decide to carve pumpkins together at Ken's house. Just on the dining room table. No newspaper, no nothing.
Gypsy and Ken are not big fans of protection. We've learned that. We've had several examples of that.
Also, this was just like probably the most unfortunate activity that you could have chosen to film.
If you were thinking of things to do that would not add fuel to the fire for your internet haters, may I recommend activities that do not involve stabbing anything. Do not have a knife in your hand for the activity.
It wasn't a great look.
People are going to say she had too much experience going into this.
10 out of 10 execution, you know? For the execution.
Oh, right. Yes, not the... There is no such thing as a perfect crime.
We wrap up the episode with them heading to the DNA office. What is this? This is just... It was a strip mall DNA place, was it not?
Did you...
Fastest DNA.
Did this scratch the itch for you?
It did.
Okay, good.
It did. I have never seen one in the wild, but they're everywhere on reality TV.
And they're charging $1,900 a pop. Did you hear that?
No.
Well, that was with the expedited fee too, so who knows how much that was.
Okay, well, I'm petty, and I do think that I would send Ryan the bill, because the only reason I'm having to do this is because you won't stop running your mouth on social media about how you think you could be the father. He doesn't even say he thinks he could be the father.
No, he's not claiming that.
He just lets
knows.
other people say it. And
He
then
knows.
he just kind of agrees.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be crazy?
Look, if I was the father, I would be doing all the fatherly responsibilities and stepping up.
Just like he did with Pixie.
Yes.
Ken got off easy. He only had to get his mouth swabbed. No blood test for him.
No blood. Well, how else are they going to... Yeah, that's what we were talking about. How else are they going to get a swab in there on the baby? You got to get a vial of blood for Gypsy and a vial of blood for the baby, I guess.
It turns out that they don't use a swab.
Now we know.
Now we see how things are properly done. #science.
I wish they had some apple juice or a granola bar or something for her, though, because they took those 2 vials out and then that almost dropped Gypsy on her butt there.
People are going to say, isn't she used to this? Didn't she used to get blood taken all the time?
Yeah, maybe she was having an anxiety attack because it was bringing up all of her medical trauma. Maybe.
She didn't eat enough that morning.
Oh, don't say that. You're supposed to fast before blood work, aren't you?
Also, I don't know that Dee Dee was taking her for those types of tests. Wasn't her whole strategy to avoid the actual diagnosis part of things? She just told people that the diagnosis had already been established.
Yeah, it wasn't stuff coming out. It was stuff going in. Yeah, mostly.
And that's the story of Gypsy's life.
Still hasn't changed. Some things never change.
Guys, next week we're going to have a very special episode because we are going to be recording with Amy and Amanda of Little Miss Recap, and God willing, Rod will return.
Rod's premiere. It better be. We have to will this into existence.
Also, we've got a lot of other content if you want to hear more from us. We have a whole other podcast called Surviving Sister Wives, where we recap none other than the TLC show Surviving Nope, it's called Sister Wives.
It's just Sister Wives.
People have been trying to get them to change it to Surviving Sister Wives.
They're trying to say drop Robin and Cody, recast with just the wives, and then call it Surviving Sister Wives, but occupado.
I don't know. Are we feeling litigious?
No. No, we're not. You do what you like.
And we have a Patreon, patreon.com/survivingpod, where we have not only all of these free episodes available with no ads in them, we also have bonus content. We just recapped the real Amish witches. I still
can't say it? The real Amish witches.
Don't waste your time watching it. Just listen to the recap.
Why aren't you talking?
It felt like it should have been a mockumentary, but it wasn't. And that should give you an idea of the level of production.
It was very Shroot Farms. Oh, and we also just did speaking of Shroot Farms, we did a Plathville off-season recap too. So jump back an episode if you missed it. Catch up on all that crazy drama that's been going on. Who got punched in the face?
I'm so ready for that show to come back.
Who is a lizard person? Who's drinking?
Who's the Antichrist?
Yeah, and who's drinking? Who's the Antichrist? Find out all of that and more.
Thanks for listening. See you next time.